Okay, go ahead and set. OnePlus voiceover, take 2. OnePlus. It's an interesting name to give a company that makes smartphones, but to say that the name doesn't fit the company would be a lie, because watching this once unknown brand grow over the years has definitely been interesting, to say the least. It's almost like watching someone grow up, watching someone with an unshakable belief mature and become the best version of themselves. But to see that, you'd have to go back all the way to where it started, right at the beginning, when there was only one. OnePlus began their foray into the smartphone world with a singular goal: to never settle. At the time, the prevailing idea was that if you wanted an affordable smartphone, you'd have to settle for less: a lesser processor, a lesser display, a lesser memory configuration. But OnePlus didn't believe that that was the only way to do things, and so they launched what they thought was the culmination of that idea, the idea to never settle for less just because you couldn't afford it. And that idea became the OnePlus One. And if you look at the spec sheet that came attached to the phone's price tag, you'd hardly believe it, because the OnePlus One had the kind of specs you'd probably only find in a device that's twice its price back then. It had a beautiful 5.5-inch Full HD display, a large 3100 mAh battery, and at the time it had the crown jewel of mobile processors at its core, the Snapdragon 801. But OnePlus didn't just stop at hardware, because the OnePlus One also ran on renowned open source operating system CyanogenMod 11s, which meant that the phone had all the benefits of a stock Android experience with a couple of quality of life enhancements, something many mobile enthusiasts absolutely adored. However, this enthusiast-centric approach and lack of large-scale marketing made the OnePlus an alternative brand only for those in the know. Back then, the only way to get a OnePlus device was through the invite system, and that made the brand even more elusive. However, OnePlus soldiered on, and around the same time the following year, the company launched the OnePlus 2. Once again, it had the best of what the mobile computing world had to offer when it came to specs. That meant a Snapdragon 810 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and a 3300 mAh battery. Unfortunately for the OnePlus 2, the Snapdragon 810 processor was a bit of a problem child. It was prone to overheating and would throttle when it did so, causing many flagships at the time to lag. OnePlus tried to work around that by underclocking the SoC, which worked at keeping the chip cool, but it still affected performance. It was a rough time for OnePlus, and it showed just how vulnerable they were to problems that were not within their control. That said, the OnePlus 2 was still unique. It had a brand new metal body for one, and a removable sandstone back that users could customize with various first-party accessories. It also introduced OnePlus's signature alert slider that gave users an easy way to manage their notifications. OnePlus 2 also launched with the company's new Oxygen OS Android skin, which marked a shift from using the open-source Cyanogen, but served as a good platform for OnePlus to build their own take on the Android OS, something they continued to do for years to come. Following the OnePlus 2 was the first real shift into the mainstream for OnePlus, the OnePlus 3. Gone was the sandstone and plastic, and in its place came a gorgeous metal unibody and a sleek industrial design. It was also an incredibly fast smartphone because, true to OnePlus's mantra, the 3 only had the best specs money could buy. It had the fantastic Snapdragon 820 processor, a mind-boggling 6 gigs of RAM, and a super fast UFS 2.0 storage standard. It was so fast it almost felt that you were controlling the phone with your mind. Everything about it was fast. The fingerprint scanner was fast, the camera was fast, and even the charging was fast because of OnePlus's proprietary fast charging technology. OnePlus 3 also signaled the beginning of OnePlus's 2-phone launch cycle with the OnePlus 3T. The T variants allowed OnePlus to refresh their flagship devices mid-year with new features that added to the experience while also improving it with new hardware like a larger battery. They were looking like a proper major smartphone maker now, but they were just getting started. It was mid-2017 when we saw the next OnePlus flagship, the OnePlus 5. However, its launch was far from perfect. OnePlus ran into a variety of issues, which included problems like the infamous jelly scrolling on their display, all of which didn't sit well with the very enthusiasts OnePlus worked so hard to win over. That said, while it was easy to get caught up in all of that, the fact remained that the OnePlus 5 was a damn good smartphone. It held true to the never settle mantra, especially in the spec department, with a Snapdragon 835 processor and up to a whopping 8GB of RAM. It also had the best camera on a OnePlus device yet, and the best build, and the best matte black paint job. It was an excellent device, and by the time the updated OnePlus 5T rolled around, which by the way fixed a lot of the issues and even updated the display, was a device that you couldn't ignore. It was OnePlus at its best. That was until the OnePlus 6 rolled around. If the OnePlus 3 was the start of adolescence for the company, then the OnePlus 6 was when it entered young adulthood, because damn, it cleaned up well. Gone was the industrial metal unibody, and in its place was an exquisite glass and aluminium sandwich that oozed grown-up. However, the phone remained a OnePlus flagship through and through. It was still powered by the best, a Snapdragon 845 SoC, and it still retailed for less than a lot of the other flagship smartphones at the time. Only now, it had a better camera and a prettier look to boot. In hindsight though, the OnePlus 6 and 6T were really just a teaser, a small taste of what OnePlus really had in store for us. It was but a glimpse at what they were capable of and what their intentions truly were. Because with the company's next smartphone launch, that was when they were done just impressing us and wanted to straight up blow our minds. The OnePlus 7 Pro. To say that it is the best OnePlus flagship they've ever made would be an understatement, because it also feels like so much more. This wasn't just OnePlus making the best phone they could make so that their customers never needed to settle. This was OnePlus flexing on their competition. Sure, it has the best specs money can buy, with a top-of-the-line Snapdragon 855 processor mated to up to 12 gigs of RAM and a large 4000 mAh battery. But it also had a triple camera setup that could hold its own against the best in the business. It had a motorized selfie camera, and it also had one of the best screens on the market, a crazy Quad HD Fluid AMOLED panel with a 93% screen-to-body ratio and a 90Hz refresh rate. Not even a Samsung Galaxy S10 or Huawei P30 Pro has this. Yet, even with the advanced specs, the OnePlus 7 Pro is still more affordable than its competitors, and now you could legitimately argue that it was also better. OnePlus 7 Pro really does mark a change in the company. This once unknown brand is now almost impossible to ignore. And in Malaysia, this game-changing new phone also comes with a big change for OnePlus. Now, starting from the OnePlus 7 Pro, Xianfeng Technologies is the exclusive official distributor of the OnePlus brand, uniting every phone the brand has to offer under one roof. It's been a ride watching OnePlus grow up over the years, and seeing what they're capable of right now keeps me excited for what they're up to next.